Any parent knows how teenagers are glued to their phones. A lot of us are glued to our phones. We're always scrolling, but now some schools have had enough. Nearly 200 school districts are joining a nationwide lawsuit against Meta, TikTok, Snapchat, YouTube. They claim the apps are addictive and cause disciplinary problems as well as mental health issues. But the social media companies say they have been taking steps to promote the well-being of users, and they're not responsible for what third parties post on their platforms. Let's bring in Chris Hahn, attorney and NewsNation political analyst and former security advisor to Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. Okay, Chris, you do the math here. With more than 13,000 school districts across the country, the number of plaintiffs here is likely going to continue to grow. Do these districts have a case?
You know, I don't think so. I think that these social media platforms are free speech. And I think that if the parents don't want their kids using them in schools, the parents should try parenting, right? The school district should try banning phones from being in schools, which they should be. I'm old enough to remember when everybody thought Pac-Man was going to be the end of civil society. This is just the latest thing that everybody thinks is going to kill our future. And frankly, the way to deal with it is to put some guidelines in where, you know, from parents to their kids, where they can and cannot use it. And of course, the school districts could say, look, leave your phones in your lockers or leave your phones at home. When you're in your classroom, you're going to sit there and you're going to study.
Yeah, well, I also think a lot of parents are listening to what you just said and said, you know, I can only do so much. I mean, at what age, Chris, does, self-discipline and self-responsibility kick in where it's not totally on the parents anymore?
Well, look, I have a teenager and, you know, try to take the phone away from her is difficult, but it is not impossible. You know, she just came back from 3 weeks at camp where she barely was able to use her phone at all. And I think that's great. But I do think that there comes a point in time where teachers need to teach and discipline needs to be enforced in the schools. And that should extend to social media use during classroom time. I think a lawsuit is just like, you know, adding to our litigious society on this. And there are other ways to get around kids using their phones and being distracted from them.
Yeah.
We're always finding something in our society that's going to ruin the next generation. And yeah, I do think that this is worse. I think it's more addicting. I think it's there. But there are also a lot of positives to social media and having the access to a lifetime of information at your fingertips.
It has done so much good as well and connects you with opportunities, people you haven't seen in a long time. The social media companies argue they're protected from content posted under a decades-old internet liability law, which has been topic of debate here. It's called Section 230. Basically says the social media sites are not responsible for what individual users post on their platforms. Will that defense for them hold up in this case? Is that what wins it for them, you think?
Yeah, I think probably it does. And again, I also think their defense is you could discipline these kids when they're in your care, and maybe you should just try doing that and save the resources. Again, this is also, you know, a law firm trying to build a large case here, a class action case where they would collect major fees. And I understand the attempt that's going on here, but I do think that the way around this, the way to keep social media from interfering with education is for parents and teachers and school districts to take control of it and have penalties for use.
Yeah. I wanted to get your take on one more case and just pick your brain on this one. A free speech fight is brewing in Tennessee. This high school student is suing his public school after he was suspended for posting Instagram memes mocking his principal. Chris, the school has a policy banning students from posting pictures that, quote, embarrass, demean, or discredit students or staff. The lawsuit argues the policy is too vague. It violates the First Amendment. Do schools have the right to police what students post outside of school? This was during this kid's summer break. Do they have a right to do so?
I think they do. I think, cyberbullying is a real thing, right? If you were bullied when, I'm a Gen Xer. If you were bullied when I was a kid, you went home and you didn't have to deal with it anymore. Now it's with you 24/7, 365. Yeah. So I think districts putting policies in place to stop cyberbullying is actually a good thing. It happens all over the country. If this case was to succeed, it would put a damper on that, and I think it should fail. Quite frankly, the kid It wasn't really that harsh what he posted, but he was being a jerk. He was trying to bully the principal, and I do think he should be punished. Whether or not he should have gotten 3-day suspension versus 1, or maybe, had to write on a chalkboard 100 times, I will not cyberbully. That is
for
the
debate.
district to decide, but I don't think this is a court case.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.